Let me say good evening and welcome to the Muskogee Municipal Authority meeting for November 8, 2021. We will have the invocation by Deputy Mayor Derek Reed, followed by the flag salute. Let us stand.
Shall we pray? Oh Lord our God, we come thanking you, as always, for the gift of another day. Thank you for all your blessings that you bestowed upon us. Ask that you would just look upon us tonight as your city leaders come together. As we have decisions to make, that we make those decisions that's in your will and in your way. Just ask that you would just protect our citizens, guide us, lead us, and hold us in the hollow of your hand and in your love. These and many other blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout. Here. Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds. Here. Stephanie Morgan. Here. Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here. Item number 1.
Consider approval of MMA minutes of October 11, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Assuming we've all had an opportunity to review the minutes, are there any corrections to the minutes, or do we need a motion? Do we have a motion, rather, to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on those minutes? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of MMA claims for the month ending October 31, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
You see before you the routine claims from the MMA, and we do recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for your recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve or any corrections or questions for Mr. Miller?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second on the claims. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 3.
Consider approval of an agreement for engineering services with Holloway, Updike, and Bellin Incorporated for water and sewer improvements at John T. Griffin Industrial Park, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, Mayor and Council, or committee, as the MMA committee. This is to do some improvements to the John T. Griffith Industrial Park. And if you're not aware, that's the area that's south of Dow Tile, west of Main Street. And it's an area that needs water and sewer improvements. And as this project is laying out, it's going to be for 2,900 lineal feet of 12-inch water line extension that will go from the intersection of Smith Ferry Road and Dow Tile Road west to 24th Street. And we're also going to add an alternate where we can also look to plan to run that all the way over to 69 Highway if the project comes in the right bids and we have the funding to do so. So we're going to take advantage and try to see that we get that alternate put in there too. We're also going to put in a sewer line extension that will run from Dial Tile Road along the creek towards Smith Ferry, then east to 24th Street. The reason that we have Hub here that we're going to recommend is they have been working on the John T. Griffith Industrial Park for many, many years on many, many different projects, and they understand the lines and all the things that are out there that are important to this project. The terrain, the scope of services that this contract is going to give us is going to be field survey, right-of-way, preliminary design, a final design, and when final design comes in, we'll have probable costs at that point. We'll also they'll help us prepare the application for permit that'll go to ODEQ that we'll have to send in once they get the plans together. And then they will assist us in the bidding. The project is trying to be fast-tracked, so there is a clause in there that it's planned to be designed in 60 days from when we give them the notice to proceed or notice of award of the contract. So we do have a 60-day clause in there. It is a project that's anticipated to be about $100,000 just over $100,000. Do recommend approval. Greg Armstrong with Hub is here to assist with any questions if you might have them about the project itself. I think you're already kind of knowledgeable about it. but we'll be glad to answer any questions. We do recommend approval.
Mr. Miller, you raised your hand.
Yes, Mr. Stewart did a great job summing up the project. This is the project that the council appropriated ARPA funds for, and the county has appropriated matching ARPA funds for. So I just wanted to clarify, this is the project that you know about already, and this is just getting that project moving into the design phase.
And for those who may be hearing this for the first time, this is a key component to our economic development plan in terms of being certain that Southside Industrial Park is adequately suited for existing and potential businesses. Any other questions for Mr. Stewart, or do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. That will conclude our meeting for the Muskogee Municipal Authority. We'll now call the special call agenda of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority for November 8, 2021. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here. Mr. Tucker will give us some guidance before we go into this meeting on tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Since we have an executive session for the MRA, as well as one for City Council, to ensure that we don't continue to ask people to leave and come back, what I'm going to suggest that we do is, when we reach item number 4, which is the executive session, that we recess the meeting, the MRA meeting, to be reconvened immediately following City Council.
And we will need a motion when we get to that item.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
You're welcome.
Item number 1.
Consider approval of minutes of October 13, 2021, or take other necessary action.
I hope we've had an opportunity to review the October 13th minutes. Do we have any discussion or motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the minutes on tonight. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of resolution number 2877, adopting bylaws of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Let me get where I need to be. Okay. As you all may remember, when we began discussing transferring the city's economic development program to the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, one of the things that we needed to do was to establish a structure within the bylaws of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority. Currently, there are no bylaws, so we immediately began drafting these bylaws and have presented them to the members of the authority, as which we do today for your consideration. So I've got a PowerPoint to go through some of the highlights. So the first thing the bylaws do is recognize the Board of Trustees, which was already established by the trust, and that names the trustees the same members as the City Council. It establishes 3 officers, the chairman, vice chairman, and a combined secretary-treasurer. Within the trust, the chairman is always the person who serves as mayor, so that position will remain the same. However, there will need to be an election for a vice chairman and a secretary-treasurer. Those individuals comprise what has been established in the trust as an executive committee, and the responsibilities of the executive committee will be to manage the day-to-day operations of any direct hire employees. Now, direct hire employees are those employees who are hired, supervised, and terminated directly by the authority. And so the executive committee will also authorize the taking of vacation or sick leave, and the executive committee will have no authority to hire and fire because that is within the purview of the entire trust board. The bylaws create a Department of Economic Development and they also create the position of Director of Economic Development. In the discussions with the subcommittee that we've been working with, the discussion was to combine the duties of the Economic Development Director with the General Manager. And so the bylaws allow for those two positions to be combined. And we'll talk about that some more when we get to the next item, which is the contract. The bylaws establish monthly meetings and also allows the chairman or two members of the trust to call a special meeting. It allows calls for an annual meeting to be held in May, and that's when the officers will be elected. It also establishes that all votes will be by roll call rather than a voice vote, and also recognizing the need for transparency in the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority. The bylaws also permit public participation in its meetings, which are very similar to the rules of decorum. There is a records and retention policy within the bylaws, which adopt Council Policy 1-6, which is the City Council policy, which establishes how long records must be kept for any particular subject. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but the copy of the bylaws that I presented will be the ones that we're asking you to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Do we have any questions for Mr. Tucker concerning the bylaws on tonight, or how is the council desired to proceed?
Sorry?
I just had a comment in the bylaws under Article 3 of the committee. There was a correction that needed to be made. I'm looking at what you passed out here. It wasn't corrected.
Okay.
So I just need to,
Okay, tell me which section you're talking about.
Article 3 under committee.
Okay. This is where we talk about the authority over the direct hire employees.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see the email that you had sent, because it should have been the same, but let me pull the original one.
Okay.
Bear with me just a moment. In the original draft of the bylaws, we had the language on on that same section, Article 3, the second sentence, while the ultimate decision on the appointment, disciplining, termination rests with the authority, the executive committee shall be responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the Director of Economic Development and the General Manager. Is that what you're talking about, Tracy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what that was changed to say is, in the provision that we're looking at, is taking out those two positions and just referring to direct hire employees, which would encompass those. But if it is the will of the body, we can certainly change that language back. That's not a big deal. The intent was, of course, to make sure that the committee had the authority to manage any of their employees that they hire directly. So, for example, if through the course of the workings through the economic development program, there needs to be an additional direct hire, then the executive committee would have the authority to manage that new employee as well. And so if we want to change the name, if we want to specifically identify it as Director of Economic Development and General Manager, that's up to the body. But the intent in changing it to those two positions to any position for direct hire was to expand the executive committee's authority for any additional employees that may be hired.
I think the committee decided to have it as it was written in red here that you just read.
Okay. Well, the written in red is the strike through. So you're talking about what was not stricken through?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so I think what Councilor McGee is proposing is to make a modification on the second sentence for it to read, while the ultimate decision on the appointment, disciplining, and termination rests with the authority. The executive committee shall be responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the Director of Economic Development and the general manager between meetings of the authority. And so that would strike through the proposed language of any direct hire employees of the authority, and then further strike the definition of direct hire employees. And then on the third sentence, which says, beyond the limitations established herein, the executive committee shall have no further authority over any subordinate employees of, insert, the general manager or the director of economic development, strike through any direct hire employees. Is that?
Well, it's already written, Roy. What I would say is what you have stricken out, if you can unline it and make it red as it already read originally, is what I'm saying. You struck it out on the red.
Mm-hmm. Well,
We can just go back to the way it was.
okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and that's what I just read.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
thank you.
So let's just be clear. I'm going to read this paragraph, which will be the new paragraph, just so it makes more sense.
Okay.
This is in Article 3. There is hereby established an executive committee comprised of the chair, vice chair, and secretary-treasurer. While the ultimate decision on the appointment, disciplining, termination rests with the authority, the executive committee shall be responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the director of economic development and the general manager between meetings of the authority.
And any direct employees of the authority, between meeting of the authority.
Okay. So then that, okay. Then that should say and, not,
Yeah.
okay, so it's
Yeah,
not,
that's what you got in here. You got "and."
no, what this shows is what's stricken through and what's added. So you want the strike through with the addition.
No, no, sir. I was just wanting the strike through to be the original language.
Right, and leave the underlined portion?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Keep the old, or add the new, keep the old.
Yes.
All right, let me try that again. New Article 3, proposed Article 3 will be, there is hereby established an executive committee comprised of the chair, vice chair, and secretary-treasurer. While the ultimate decision on the appointment, disciplining, and termination rests with the authority, the executive committee shall be responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the director of economic development and the general manager and any direct hire employees of the authority
Thank you.
between meetings of the authority.
Correct.
Direct hire employees shall mean those employees who are hired, supervised, and fired directly by the authority. The executive committee shall be charged with authorizing any vacation or sick leave of any direct hire employees of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority. Beyond the limitations established herein, the executive committee shall have no further authority over any subordinate employees of the general manager or the or the director of economic development or any direct hire employees. However, should the authority add additional employment positions which report directly to the trustees, the executive committee shall manage those direct hire employees, but not their subordinates as well, Provided, however, the executive committee has no authority to bind the authority or exercise any duties or obligations which would conflict with Article 7, Section 2 of the trust indenture.
Correct, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
So the proposed motion by Councilor McGee would be to approve Resolution 2877, substituting Article 3, first paragraph of Article 3 as presented.
Thank you, Councilor McGee and Mr. Tucker. I just want to be clear, we're basically saying the same thing in a different way.
Yes. Direct hire employees include the general manager and the economic development director, but I think Councilor McGee's point is since we already know we have those positions, why not spell them out? I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Councilor McGee,
Yeah,
but
pretty
I think
much,
that's
yes.
what you're saying. Yeah.
We have a motion, I'm going to consider that as a motion made by Councilman McGee.
Yes.
Do we have a second? Do we have questions before we have the second?
Second the motion.
Do you all need further time to read or any clarity that you need from Mr. Tucker? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 3.
Consider approval of an agreement between the City of Muskogee and the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority conferring management and operation of the city's economic development program to the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. What we also talked about when we talked about creating the bylaws was also create an agreement which would outline what the rules and responsibilities that the MRA is assuming and that are being conveyed by the city of Muskogee. So this contract represents that, and I do have a brief PowerPoint to go over the major provisions of that contract. And so this is an agreement between the city council as acting through its mayor and city council and the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, which is the trustees that we're in front of today. The city, of course, manages economic development, and the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority was created as a public trust to do the same thing. I mean, it has more things than economic development, but that is its primary focus. And so this could result in a duplication of programs. And so what this agreement would authorize is the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority to develop adequate housing, promote city growth, offer incentives for new development and redevelopment. And this still allows the city of Muskogee, who is the beneficiary of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, to be relieved of those responsibilities, but still enjoy the benefits. And so, under the terms specified within the attached agreement, the MRA would promote and foster economic development, assist in industrial development, supervise retail development, and seek out new business for the city, offer incentives, and then organize and implement strategies for growth. The city will allocate funds annually based on the MRA's adopted budget. And then the MRA, of course, cannot spend any more funds than are allocated it to the city. The MRA would need to make an annual report to the city of its accomplishments. This is a familiar provisions that you all see in most of the contracts that we have with other entities that do some municipal work on our behalf. And of course, the good part of this is the city itself will not have any liability for any contracts that are entered into between the MRA and any third parties. Normally, our contracts have the city treasurer serving as the compliance officer. However, in this instance, the decision was recommended for my office to take that on. And so we're happy to do that. The contract also provides that the MRA will employ an economic development director who will also serve as the general manager. Remember, in the bylaws that were just approved, that was anticipated. And the economic development director will have full access to city resources, including staff, to promote the growth of Muskogee. One of the things that was that we were specifically asked to exclude from this contract is the separate contract between the Port of Muskogee and the city to do industrial development. And so the decision, it was recommended that that be excluded from this contract, and that contract will still be managed by the city. And so when there is a budget amendment that is presented, the amount of that contract will be withheld because it will need to be kept within the city coffers in order to pay that contract. And so with that, those are the major provisions of the agreement. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Do we have any questions concerning this agreement on tonight? Do we have a motion to approve the agreement?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this item. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van. Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Mr. Tucker, do we need a motion in advance of having number 4 read? Can you
Yes, we-
state the motion, please?
Yes, we do. An appropriate motion at this time would be to move to recess the meeting of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority to reconvene immediately following the conclusion of the city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. We will recess that meeting and now go to the agenda for the Muskogee City Council for November 8, 2021. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan. Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
We will now entertain a motion to excuse Councilor Evelyn Hibbs.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon, Marlon Coleman.
Yes. We'll now consider the consent agenda, which consists of items number, I'm sorry, thank you. Before we do that, let's consider the approval of the minutes of the special call city council meeting for October 12th, October 18th, November 1st, and the regular session of October 25th. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes or corrections?
Move for approval.
Properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Now we will consider the consent agenda, which consists of items numbers 1 through 5. Does any councilor care to move any item to the regular agenda, or do we have motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
Motion and second. Further discussion on the consent agenda. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 6.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of Resolution Number 2873, amending the land use map regarding property located along Gulick Street on the east side, north of Solomon Street, more particularly described in the resolution, from residential to local commercial, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the land use map of the city to reflect said change.
We will now open the public hearing. Ms. Callahan.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is a request by the city to amend the future land use map. Currently, the land use map shows residential, and we would like to amend the land use map to show that future development could be commercial. This is the property. It is located on Gulick. It's right at the corner of Gulick and Solomon. It's on the west side of Gulick. Staff, Planning Commission, and Public Works recommend approval. Be happy to answer any questions. And this is a request in order to hear a zoning later. So keep it in your mind that we...
Thank you, Ms. Callahan. No residents have signed up to speak to this item, so we will close the public hearing. Do we have any comments from the council or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Callahan. Item number 7.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of ordinance number 4134A to rezone 331 South 32nd Street, being more particularly described in the ordinance from C1 Local Commercial to C2 General Commercial, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We will now open the public hearing. Ms. Callahan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Council. This is a request from Derek Harris. He's the applicant. Tiger Lily is the owner. It is the current Wendy's, not to be confused with anything on Gulick. See, that comes later. But it is currently C1 Local Commercial. They're requesting to go to C2 General Commercial, and they're going to do a complete rebuild. And the C1 either requires a special exception for a drive-through or the correct zoning classification of the C2. And they have chosen to go that route to have a clear title and to not have any special exceptions in on their banking of their loans or their property title. It is allow for the demolition and the rebuild of the current Wendy's. It's only going away for a little while. That's the current site. And then the zoning around there is commercial, and the future land use map does show commercial. Planning Commission, staff, and Public Works recommend approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Callahan. No one has signed up to speak to this item. We will now close the public hearing. Do we have any discussion from the council? Or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 8.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of ordinance number 4135A to rezone 2516 Gulick Street, being more particularly described in the ordinance from R1 Single Family Residential to C1 Local Commercial, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We will now open the public hearing. Ms. Callahan.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is the request that we amended our future land use map. So now we're able to hear this rezoning request to go from the R1 residential to the C1 local commercial, and it's to allow for a new restaurant. Mama Tiggs is the fire brick pizza. The applicants are Bob and Jeanette Davis. They are not related to the owners. However, the owners are Davises. They are here if you have any questions, and show the zoning map. The property is located there at Gulick, right along Solomon, right north of Solomon. Here's the site currently. And then, of course, it is surrounded by residential, but it is an existing commercial structure that we would like to see redeveloped rather than standing vacant or remaining storage. And it could allow for some future development to the north in the vacant lot that's there to the north. Staff, Planning Commission, and Public Works recommend approval. And I will say that I don't believe there's anybody to sign up to speak on this. The applicants are here if you have questions. But the young lady that spoke last time at Public Works, I appreciate Councilor Reynolds spoke with her, and I did too. I think we took care of her questions and concerns.
Thank you, Ms. Callahan. We will now close the public hearing since no one has signed up to speak to this item. Do we have any questions from the council?
This is going to be.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is going to be an exciting opportunity for our area over there and within Grandview. It's something that's going to fill a lot of gaps for restaurants and food and everything. So we're excited to see that being developed and welcome Mama Tiggs to Muskogee.
I agree.
Councilor Van?
Yes, I would just like to say that I'm glad to see that also, because Midland Valley is just right across the, I ain't gonna say across the track, across the bridge. So y'all just have pizza, or y'all have salad, or what are you?
We will have salads. We're limited on.
Sir, if you like, you can,
Come to the mic.
you come to the microphone, please.
And
sorry.
I
No,
have their
you're
website
fine.
there that has the menu on it. So
Yeah, we're excited to have you here tonight.
We will have sub sandwiches, salads, some limited pasta, and pizza.
Okay. Well, welcome to the community, because
Well, thank you very much. And we have brought our food truck here in Muskogee, and I have to say, we do very well. We appreciate all your support.
but you'll probably have two people I know of over there and eat real well. There's Councilman Reynolds and the mayor. They like to eat.
Wow.
Keep the mayor out of my food.
Alex, we just gonna take that, man? Wow. Wow, Ivory.
You know I'm just teasing you.
Oh, man. Because I don't eat near as much as Councilor Reynolds.
Always trying to take me.
With that,
I'm
Mayor,
excited to have him here. Thank you.
I
What a
move for
great
approval.
addition to Ward 2.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Again, thank you all so much for investing in Muskogee. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 9.
Consider approval of the recommendation by the City of Muskogee Foundation Board of Directors appointing Jenny Jamison to serve an unexpired term replacing Tammy Toombs beginning December 1, 2021 and ending June 30, 2025, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mayor, members of council, Ms. Toombs was appointed by the council to serve on that board. She has taken another job, been promoted, and moved to another town. The foundation board has recommended Jenny Jamison to serve in her place and fill out that unexpired term. Jenny is the head of the United Way here in town and well respected. Her recommendation was approved unanimously by the foundation board, and many of you sit on that board as well, and they recommend approval, and I do personally as well.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Do we have any questions on that regard on tonight, or do we have a motion to approve?
I move for approval. Jenny will make a great asset to the foundation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 10.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4140A, amending the City of Muskogee Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 74, Taxation, Article 8, Use Tax, by amending Section 74-237, Economic Development Fund, permitting transfer of fund revenue to the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, establishing criteria for expenditure, providing for repeal or severability, and declaring an emergency or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Mayor, members of council, probably 10 or more years ago, we created the Economic Development Fund, which was to be funded in certain percentages from our use tax that is collected. Those funds were set aside for economic development within a fund of the city, and within that fund there was created an economic opportunity account. And that account was funded from similar from use tax revenue. And in order for any of that money to be spent, it did require a 2/3 majority and certain criteria to be met. The funding could only be used for the limited purposes outside of the ordinance. As you all know, based on the activities and actions that the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority has taken to accept the city's transfer of the economic development program of the city, we needed to make this modification to bring to you tonight, which would authorize the City Council to transfer economic development funding to the MRA, and it further would establish that the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority would be able to spend that money so long as it met the same criteria that the City Council was restricted to. So even though the money would be is being authorized to be transferred to the MRA, all of the restrictions for how that money can be spent would remain in place. And so this ordinance is necessary as step 3 to the transfer of economic development from the city to the MRA. It does have this does have an emergency provision, so that can go into effect immediately upon publication. This would allow, would prohibit any delays in transferring any of those funds over and being able to use those in furtherance of economic development, because I know that is the council's desire. And one of the primary reasons why it was transferred from the city to the MRA is to create a more efficient mechanism for doing economic development. And so this ordinance allows that to happen. Happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Tucker concerning this item on tonight, or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Do we have a motion to declare an emergency?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve an emergency on said item. Further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. The item passes. Item number 11.
Discuss and take action to approve the bylaws of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker, is this the same presentation just made in the?
Sort of. So the City Council has to approve any bylaws or changes that are made by the MRA. And so in this instance, what we're looking for is a motion to approve the bylaws of the MRA as revised.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further
Yes.
discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. The item passes. Item number 12.
Consider approval of an agreement between the City of Muskogee and the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority conferring management and operation of the city's economic development program to the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker,
This is the city side of the agreement that the MRA just approved. I'm happy to answer any questions.
any questions for Mr. Tucker? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion has been properly made and second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item passes. Item number 13.
Consider approval of resolution number 2878 in support of the city's continued participation in the Main Street organization, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Main Street Muskogee is Muskogee's Main Street organization, officially designated. So we have representatives of Main Street here today who'd like to make a brief presentation, and there's a resolution of support, a very general resolution supporting the concept of Main Street participation in the packet. So I would like to call forward the chairman of Main Street to make a brief presentation in regard to this resolution.
Mr. Luck, you are welcome to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us up. We wanted to reach out and for your support for Main Street organization to continue forward. At this point, there's been a brief pause in our operations. We've been looking at ways to engage in the community, engage in downtown, and we've withheld funding for this last year. And there's been some question about that. Our position on this is we felt like we needed to be in a position to make a difference here, and we couldn't do that in the past. I feel like between everything that's going on with the economic development, with the tourism, we're in a position now that we want to engage. We feel like we're able to do that. We've got some private funding. We are excited to engage and have a partnership with the council, with the city. I'm glad to take any questions on this.
Thank you, Mr. Luck. Do we have any questions for the chairperson of that organization or for Mr. Miller?
I just wanted to give kudos to the Main Street organization and Neighbors Building Neighborhoods on an outstanding job they did for the Bonanza event that for Halloween that was downtown. Although that outstanding job, we had a great crowd from the community.
And also the big boy, the steam engine was a
Yes.
wonderful event as well. Good job, guys.
We also had the Oklahoma Arts Council. We did a reception dinner for that, and we have a Christmas parade coming up, and we're in the process. We've got bids right now with the contractor to try to light up Main Street, and so it's something we're working on to put some funding towards. And it'd be great to have a parade and have downtown lighting and get a downtown window contest, window lighting contest as well. So a lot of things going on right now.
Very exciting. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be recognized.
Yes, Mr. Bain.
I'm just curious. I'm gonna be the devil of that advocate here. On Main Street, I look at Main Street and I go down it in South Main especially. And right there in the middle where Hoops Hardware store is, right there, those little stores, it's empty and vacant. Look like they're about to fall down. What are y'all planning on doing about that? Another question is, what are you planning on doing about all those buildings from the viaduct going back south to Broadway? To me, that looks a shame downtown on Main Street. Ketchum Lumber Yard, where the Ketchum Lumber Yard used to be, that looks a shame. You know, we need something to make our downtown look good. And that right there doesn't make our downtown look good. You know, it's nice to have the Bonanza. I went to it myself. Kids, you know, they started right there on Main Street and went all the way to the depot. That's nice. But still, our downtown still needs some work, major work. Since that old Royal Casket Company is down, you see how nice that looks? It looks good, don't it? That's how all of Muskogee downtown on South Main or North Main going towards that viaduct should look. So I'm just wondering, what are y'all going to do about that?
Well, we want to do as much as we can. We got to have support, and the castle or the casket building that came down to make a great parking lot, the Ketchum Lumber, that would be a great outdoor beer garden or a restaurant, a place to have with events. That place right there could really be fixed up, and it's a perfect location to do something like that. Just have to get investment into that area. The other side on Main Street, that's an eyesore. And we have a lot of the downtown building owners and merchants that are frustrated with this and feel like their hands are tied because a lot of those are owned by other parties, and we just can't get anything done with it. We need to, I don't know if it's a zoning, if it's a, our thought is we get downtown, we get the merchants, we get everybody to clean up their downtown buildings, their sidewalks, and it's going to attract and create that, hopefully, it's going to spread, and others are going to take pride in what they have as well. We're limited as far as able to make drastic changes as far as that. We are just a small organization, but we want to get as much cooperation with downtown as we can and with the city and make a change.
Would you say where the Ketchum building is, would you say that's a mess? Looks bad? Or do you think that looks good?
Yeah, that's a mess, but it has a real good potential there. That has real good potential.
Good potential to be tore down?
So we were visioning that as a, and it's something I talked to with tourism with Jordan before, and it was, if that was a beer garden or if that was something where you could hold events behind the scene. The problem was parking. I don't know what the parking is going to look like now that the casket building is gone. If that could become a parking lot, that could be a great location for holding some type of events. Otherwise, we're open for suggestions, and we want to get behind it.
Well, I'm not criticizing. I just, when I'm going down Main Street, I have to look at that all the time. And I go to other cities, you go to Rose Garden, you go to other places. Because I go to National League of Cities all the time. And that's one thing about the National League of Cities. When you go, they have a conference there. They always go and have bus tours showing you what they've done in their city. I'd hate to have a bus tour and go down Main Street and show them that old old Ketchum lumber building and all them, where the hotel is and all the way back to the viaduct. And then plus where the VA is right there, all those empty buildings right there. That don't look good for our city. But I know it's not y'all's fault. It takes money to do this. But that's just my opinion. And then, I'm not saying I have the right opinion, but that's just the way I look at things. But I appreciate all y'all do for our city and for downtown. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Van. Any other questions for Mr. Lucht on tonight?
Mayor, if I could, real quick.
Yes, Mr.
I would like to point out that a lot of the problems we have across town, particularly in our inner city as well as downtown, is the low cost of ownership. A lot of people have inherited those buildings or have bought those buildings, and to own it and let it sit, it doesn't cost very much, unfortunately. When you go in there and you start talking about fixing that building up, bringing them up to current standards, current code, that's where it gets real expensive. A lot of people have bought these buildings and have the best of intentions to get in there and do something, and then they didn't speak to someone ahead of time about code, cost, contractors, etc. We're in a difficult time right now. We're finding a contractor, even if you have a plan and the money is even a difficult time. I do want to commend the folks at Main Street. They have got quite a bit done without any funding this last year. And there's a new group in there, and they're working really hard with Jordan trying to make things happen. And there's a few things like the Ketchum building that just make it a little bit difficult because you've got owners who you can't force to do something. And that's where we as the council can take up some opportunities, and we have been discussing that with some of our zoning, some of our laws, possibly inspections. We're going to have to apply some type of pressure on people to please do something about your building, or would you consider selling it or trading it or working with a realtor or developer and partnering with them to actually get it, fixed up and then on the market or full with a proper tenant. But that's just something that's outside of their wheelhouse. But they are doing a good job of the things they have. I sure do appreciate you guys for everything you've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Further discussion, or do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded on item number 13. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item passes. Item number 14.
Consider approval of an agreement for engineering services with Holloway, Updike, and Bellin Incorporated for water and sewer improvements at the John T. Griffin Industrial Park, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is the item we approved in the Muskogee Municipal Authority. It's to do the infrastructure improvements in John T. Griffin Industrial Park. I'll answer any questions if you have them, but it's the same item.
Any questions or discussion for Mr. Stewart, or do we have a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on tonight. Any further discussion on item number 14?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, I would like to say that, as Ivory has recognized a couple of our contractors that he feels real confident in working with, I would like to say that Holloway Updike does an excellent job. They work on so many projects here in town. They are definitely stakeholders and are very interested and concerned about our community and moving it forward. And I'd just like to say I sure do recognize and see the efforts they put forward, and I appreciate everything they do. And I would ask that we move for approval.
We have a motion?
Move for approval.
No. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 15.
Consider approval of the lowest and best bid from Direct Traffic Control Incorporated in the amount of $279,774.96 for the Striping Northeast Zone Project number 2021016, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Reeves.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This project was developed by Morris Baxter of the Public Works Department, utilizing the Manual for Unified Traffic Control Devices. This is a striping project for Muskogee to Chandler, from K Street to 45th Street East. It'll also stripe the intersections of 41st and 45th Street. York Street from Elliott to North Street. It'll also stripe the intersections of Gibson and Haskell and North Street. 41st Street East, Chandler to Old Shawnee, and Harris Road, York to Country Club. Can't see where I'm at. Gibson to East Side Boulevard to York Street, and North Street from York to Country Club. Country Club Road, North Street to Monta, and Callahan from Cherokee to East Side Boulevard will be striped, and staff does recommend approval. If I can answer any questions, I'd be happy to.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Reeves on tonight?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any further discussion on item number 15? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. We have two citizens signed up to speak to us tonight. I'm going to call your name and ask that you give us come to the microphone, give us your name, your address. You'll have 3 minutes. The first one is Mr. Stephen Ezel. If you'll come and give us your name and your address, and you will have 3 minutes.
It's good to be back. My name is Stephen Ezel. I'm a historian, a department historian with the Oklahoma American Legion, 6121 South 6th Street East, Muskogee, Oklahoma. I'm here this evening to inform you guys that this Veterans Day will mark the 100th anniversary of the dedication of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. And if any of you have ever been to it, and I have been, it is a very sobering, humbling, and very moving experience. But most importantly, I remember reading the inscription that says, "Here rests and honored glory an American soldier known but to God. This is something also humbling to consider, and that's this, that with all the racial tension and division that goes on these days, it very well may be that the race or color of the unknowns may not be white. They could very well be black or Hispanic or Native American or Asiatic. Hence why it's called the unknown soldier, but they all have one thing in common. In the cause for which they fought, they all gave the last full measure of devotion. Now, you know, with advances in DNA technology and forensics, there may never again be any unknowns from our conflicts. Although we have become most proficient in the identification of our living and dead veterans, in so many ways we still remain most deficient in identifying with them, because they are more than just a name or rank or branch of service or war era or their date of birth or death. They are much more. They were and are husbands, fathers, sons, brothers, wives, mothers, sisters, daughters, dear friends, all who had hopes and dreams were bright as morning sunrise, yet for so many were darkened like ash by the violence and horror of war. But yet we do have hope that, like the phoenix that was once consumed by fire, it rose again from the ashes to spread its wings and soar onwards to a brighter tomorrow, to a better day. George S. Patton said this best: "Let us not mourn that such people died, but let us honor that such people lived." I thank you very much for your time. Happy Veterans Day. God bless us all, and God bless Muskogee, Oklahoma, USA.
Thank you, Ms. Diesel. The next resident having signed up to speak to us tonight is Councilor Ivory Van. I'll ask that you give us your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, may I have 2 extra minutes, please?
Motion to extend Councilor Van's
Move
time
for
to 5
approval.
minutes.
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, Councilor Van, if you give us your name and your address, you'll have 5 minutes.
Ivory Van, 4338 Columbus Street, Muskogee, Oklahoma, 74401. I know y'all are all probably wondering out to our audience and the people at home why I got this hat on. It ain't Christmas yet. Well, today we started our bell ringing for the Salvation Army. I've been on the Salvation Army's advisory board for 7 years. Been ringing the bell for 7 years. And what I was reaching out to y'all tonight, councilman, mayor, all the citizens here in Muskogee, please come out and help us ring the bell for the families that want, that can't afford things for Christmas. It's just a blessing when we ringing that bell and meeting different people. We're helping someone else, and that's what it's about. It's helping other people. So we started our bell ringing, and Mr. Stephen Smalley, he's over it. And I'm gonna give you his telephone number. His number is 918-869-0182. Again, 918-869-0182. So today, he also wanted me to mention this. Out at Hobby Lobby, that place really surprised me. It's like kind of more than Walmart. Really, seriously. People come and go. I mean, it just surprised me. So a year before last, we made $9,000 in the kiln at Hobby Lobby. We had to pay people to ring the bell. Now, when we don't pay people, like this other year, we made $17,000 last year. That was volunteer people. That's just right there at Hobby Lobby. That's just our regular citizens that go out and volunteer. You can group up with different people, just like y'all gonna get a kick out of this. right now, we have a little, like, we got a trophy, and who, you know, right gets the most money. The Republicans and the Democrats, we got like a tug of war going on. We're going to see which one can win the trophy and put our name on that trophy. Because, like I said, we're all Americans. I don't care whether you talk about your Democrat, Republican, or whatever. We're still all Americans. And the thing, really, the joy that I get out of doing this is when we pass those gifts out to the families.
Yeah.
That right there. When those kids come in there and they get that stuff from the Salvation Army and take it to their car, because the employees take it to the car and volunteers take, I say it's all volunteers take it to the car. One year, I took a bike and some other stuff to the lady's car, and that's when the chamber had that $10,000 giveaway they used to give. I had no idea. The lady I was walking to her car and their son that we was giving that gift package to, they won the $10,000 as a chamber. I said, boy, that was a blessing, you know. So I would just like all the citizens of Muskogee and the city employees just to help us so we don't have to pay people to come out and ring that bell. Just come out and volunteer. And then when it's time to give those toys and stuff out to the families, just see how the families' reactions on their face and how blessed we are. Because we only serve for one purpose, and that's to help each other. I don't care how much money you got, how poor you are. Everybody needs to just be helping each other. No matter what color you are, we all need to be helping each other. So please come out and help the Salvation Army if you possibly can. I'll turn the floor back over to Mr. Mayor Iams. That's what I wanted to bring tonight, to bring to y'all attention. But we have started, and please come out there, because I really have fun ringing that bell. What I do is I just set up my music, and really, I set up my music. I give candy canes to the kids, you know. Even if nobody gives, I still pass out candy canes. I bought candy canes. I got them in my truck right now. But I get a joy out of it. And on that, I'm going to tell you one more thing. On that, my soap, Buff soap, I tell you what, that's some good soap. I went for 3 days. I got 3 coupons for 2 bars a month. All together, if I'd have made it one other day without having to take my son to the doctor, I'd have went all 4 days. But I got 75 bars of soap, and I gave it all away. I don't have a bar of soap in my house. I gave it all away. That's what giving is about. Even though I had to get up early and sit out there in the cold, it was worth it. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Van. Item number 16.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. B, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of Jeff Lester, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. C, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of Ronnie Bowie, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, we will now go into executive session. All of those who are not party to the executive session, please excuse yourself at this time. We will now reconvene from executive session. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 16A, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the City Council did convene an executive session to discuss ongoing negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57. After being briefed on the status of those negotiations, no action is necessary at this time. However, staff was directed to place this item back on the agenda for the meeting occurring on November 22nd. Item 16B, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council convened an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of Jeff Lester. After being briefed on the status of that claim and a recommended settlement, I think an appropriate motion would be to authorize the city attorney to settle the workers' compensation claim of Jeff Lester in the amount and within the range discussed in executive session.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Mr. Tucker.
Item 16C, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council convened an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of Ronnie Bowie. After being briefed on the status of those claims and a recommendation of potential settlement, I believe an appropriate motion would be to authorize the city attorney to settle the claim of Ronnie Bowie within the amount and within the range discussed in executive session.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Mr. Tucker.
And so that would conclude the meeting.
We will now reconvene the meeting of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here. Item number 4.
Pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the appointment of Leon Davis to the position of Economic Development Director, establishing terms and conditions of employment for the same, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. We will now go into executive session. We will now reconvene from executive session. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 4, pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss the appointment of Leon Davis to the position of Economic Development Director, establishing terms and conditions of employment. Based upon the discussion, I think an appropriate motion would be to approve the appointment of Leon Davis as Economic Development Director of the MRA with an effective date of November 9th, under the terms and conditions set forth in executive session, further directing the city attorney to prepare an employment agreement upon those terms, and further authorizing the chairman to execute the same.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. I believe that is the final item for tonight. We are adjourned.